We are live. Hey, hey, MNTV family. It is MNTV Mike here, and you'll notice that I am not alone, and it's not a regular member of the MNTV family. You're not looking at Sarah or Jacob or Isaac. You're looking at my good friend, Aliesha. Hi, Aliesha.
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be with the MNTV family on the channel. This is great.
This is great. So today we're doing something a little bit different. You guys obviously have seen a lot of the videos and such like that, seeing us going out and having our fun and all that kind of stuff.
Hey Mike, let me pause you for a second. I'm
Oh, yeah.
looking. I also brought it up on my phone and it's not showing that we're live yet. I'm not sure if there's one more step that needs to happen.
I think there is a bit of a delay on it because if I'm looking at, I also have it up on another screen over here. So I
I'm
think
learning,
there's a,
y'all. I'm learning.
yeah, there's a slight delay in it, which is cool. That makes sure that if I go off on a tangent and start swearing, we can click the off button real
I was
quick.
gonna say, do I have to be like the censor, right? Like, no, don't say
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, so we're doing something a little bit different today. We're gonna talk about travel. So I mean, especially in our channel, and I know I've watched a lot of your content too. We show a lot of what we do, but oftentimes we don't spend a lot of time talking about the travel and not even just going over our favorite memories and stuff like that, which we will do today as an introduction, but talking about those tips, those trips, tips and tricks. I should have done my vocal warm up before we started. But yeah, so this series, I'm functionally calling it the Globetrotters Guide, maybe to the galaxy. I don't know.
Ooh, I
The
like that.
Globetrotters Guide to the Galaxy. Get my sci-fi in there, but yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. So with me, like I said, is Aliesha. Aliesha's got her own channel on YouTube, but why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself and your channel and what you do?
Okay, so hi everyone. I usually say hey y'all on my channel. So hey y'all, my name's Aliesha Pulliam, but I go by AlieshaNicole. That's my handle on pretty much everything, especially on my YouTube channel. So just a little bit about me. I am a U.S. Navy veteran, so just want to put that out there because I know we have the Canadian audience watching us as well as a mix of folks from all over. I am a corporate girly, reformed corporate girly who just left all that structure behind of the military, the government, and all that to pursue my passions of being an actress and an MC. So that's what I do these days. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I've hosted corporate events out here as well as women's conferences, nonprofit galas, and fundraisers. So that's on the MC side of the house. And then I've also starred in some commercials, which I'm so excited about. So that's on the acting side. I'm dipping my toes in, getting my feet wet with the commercials. And actually, fun fact, Mike, two of my commercials have been playing out here during the Olympics.
Oh,
So
very
it's
cool.
yeah, so it's been kind of cool to get video clips and pictures from friends who are saying like, "Oh, we saw you on TV." So I'm like, "Yes." Like put my face out there, get my name out there. And also in the acting world, I've done a little bit outside of commercials. So I've been in a show that's on HBO. And then recently I had a couple speaking parts in a movie. So I'm really excited about that. I can't talk about it just yet, but as soon as we get closer to the release, I'm excited to share that with everyone. So yeah, I'm just out here living my dream.
Very cool. And here's my dirty little secret, something that most people don't know. When I was younger and maybe handsomer, I actually did a little bit of acting myself.
Oh, shit.
So I was an extra in a couple of CBC. That's the public broadcaster up here. A couple of
Mm.
CBC shows up here. One of them called Tom Stone, and I do not remember the name. It's flown right out of my head. And I was also in a Hindi movie once, a Bollywood movie once.
Oh, wow.
Now, I played Dr. Michael Walsh of orthopedics, and none of you who are watching this now or may watch this in the future will ever find that movie. Just putting it out there.
It sounds like a challenge. Someone is at home like, challenge accepted.
Dr. Michael Walsh must find him. if
Find
you
him.
if you can find it out there in the universe, if you can find it, then definitely I would love to see it, because I have actually never seen this movie. I'm not even 100% sure it got produced in the end. I don't know if it did. It
Yeah.
was it was one of those, well, let's call it a learning experience.
Yeah. This is going to be one of those like unsolved mystery type things where someone who knows someone has a copy and they're just going to send it to you and be like, here it is. So I'm
I
waiting for
would
that.
I would love that. I would love that, because I did do the part where I was the doctor, and I did another part where we're like at a wedding, and like we were into the whole Bollywood dancing and all that kind of stuff. So it would be interesting to see if it was really out there. But yeah, that's my dirty little secret.
I love that. That's so fun. And you never know people's backgrounds, right? We come from all walks of life. And so even though our channels may be focused, like mine is focused on my career and lifestyle and
Mhm.
travel. We have MNTV family that's focused on travel. But you can learn all kinds of stuff from us. So yeah, I just love sharing that with the world.
Exactly, and it's so cool. And I mean, the nice type of thing about your lifestyle is you actually get to travel a lot. See, that was my segue there. That was pretty good. You get to go all over. You were telling me just before you started that you're, kind of up and down the western seaboard, and then you're going to be
Mhm.
heading over to the eastern seaboard. And seeing your channel, you've been in Las Vegas, you've been in Texas, you've been in half the globe. It seems like you've touched on. So it's really cool. It's cool.
It is cool, right? And I'll share this with folks too, because it may be like, why is she traveling so much? So I'm a nomad. I've been a nomad for the past 2 years. So I've freed myself up essentially so that I can travel, going to different gigs. So sometimes you'll see on my channel that the worlds will collide, right? Like I just did an event for Lululemon in Vancouver, and so once
Mhm.
the event was over, of course I'm like, I'm in Vancouver, Canada. That was my first time visiting. So take those downtime, advantages, right? And get the content. And so there'll be a video that's coming out about that as well.
I
But
can't wait.
yes, and so with my nomadic life, when you see videos about my lifestyle, you'll see that I'm a house sitter and a pet sitter. And so that's also another reason why I'm able to bounce around to some of those places like Mike just mentioned.
Hmm. Cool. So yeah, let's dive into it and start talking travel. And I have a whole, I tried to be organized and put together a schedule and stuff like that. But I'm gonna say right now, if we go over, we get off, we get derailed with something, let's just do it. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's just talk travel. But I'll let you start. Let's talk. Like, what have you? Tell us about some of your travel, favorite memories, places you've been, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's dig in.
Yeah, so I essentially come from a family of travelers. Now, I'm originally from a small city in North Carolina, so take traveling like family of travelers with a grain of salt, because like we weren't hopping on planes. Like no, like my grandfather on my mom's side was a farmer, so it's that southern country slow living mentality. We didn't hop on a plane, but we would take long drives, right? Long drives through the
Mhm.
countryside. And so my parents, they would take me on trips as well, all up and down the East Coast. And then, oh, this is something that I know about you, Mike. So in high school, I was in the marching band. I played the
Mhm.
clarinet, and so we took a lot of road trips doing that. And we also got to march in Disney World's Magic Music Parade.
Oh,
Uh,
very cool.
yeah, and so anyway, like just constantly being around travel in some capacity, it just made me want to travel more once I got older. And so that was my primary reason in the beginning for joining the Navy. It would give me an opportunity to be able to explore and see the world. So when I did join the Navy, that was my first time on an airplane. Going to basic
Oh,
training in Great Lakes, Illinois. My first time finally getting on a plane. And it's like when I think of, favorite travel memories, some people may say, like, oh, there was this life-changing eat, pray, love trip that I took to fill in the blank. And that just changed my whole outlook on life. And it's like for me, it's more of every trip has a little bit of something in it, right?
Hmm.
That makes me want to do more, right? It makes me want, even if the trip didn't go so well, right? Like flights were crazy, hotel stays weren't quite right. I can still think of some sort of experience, whether it's someone that I met or food that I ate or, some sort of tourist trap that actually turned out to be cool. Like I have a
Hmm.
lot of those types of memories.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us some of the places you've been to. I mean, I'm
Mm.
sure the list is long and extensive, but give us some highlights.
Yeah, I'll talk more recent. So on my channel, I have a series where I took a solo cruise for my birthday, and I took it on Norwegian Cruise Line. And so I love cruises, which is funny because my friends, when we were on the Navy, they're like, "Girl, why would you ever want to go back on the ship?"
About that.
And I'm like, it's different. Like, I don't have to work. Someone else is doing the laundry, right? Like, it's
Mhm.
different. There's entertainment. The food is actually good, So I enjoy going on cruises. And typically, when you go on cruises, it makes sense to go with at least one other person because most of the room charges, right, are for double
Yep.
occupancy and above. But
Yeah.
Norwegian Cruise Line on some of their ships, they do have single occupancy. Now, it feels like a
Okay.
dorm room, but it's a nice dorm room, and there's like a lounge and they have events and activities. And so that was a really fun trip that I took out of Galveston, Texas. So if you haven't had a
Yeah.
chance to check that out, y'all, please go to my channel. You can see that whole series. So that was a highlight trip that I got to do on my own. And then one more that
Hmm.
I really enjoyed was going to Bali. So I did a
Yes.
trip. Shout out to one of my friends. He owns a company called Dipaways, and they curate trips for groups. And so I signed up to go on the Bali trip. So there were, I think, about 13 of us. It was our first time all meeting each other, but everyone just like, we clicked, right? It was as if we already knew each other. And I think it's just because everyone had that same mindset of like adventure and explore, and we're excited to be here. And who cares if
Hmm.
it's hot? And who cares if there's bugs, right? Like we're excited to enjoy this and to have fun. And so went surfing for the first time on that trip. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
I'd say those two like are the highlights right now for me.
Yeah, very cool. And I mean, the thing with cruising too is, I mean, yeah, you may have been in like a dorm room, but how much time do you really spend in your room? I mean, those ships they are huge, and there's like you can't do everything on the ship in a week-long cruise or even a 14-day cruise. You couldn't do it all anyway, right?
Right.
So, I mean, even if you're in a room that's, kind of like a dorm, I mean, so what, right? I mean, you're out of it 90% of the time, right? It's your bed to sleep on, and that's about it, right? So,
Right, right. Place to house your clothing and to just shower, but typically you should be in and out of the room. So I know there's some people that might want to splurge and get the balcony, but it's
mhm,
interesting. I watch other YouTubers when they go on cruises and just kind of get their feedback, especially if it's a ship I've never heard of, and
mhm.
it's funny, they'll splurge for the balcony and they're like, I am only on this balcony just to show you all what it looks like because there's so much happening on the ship. Plus the excursions when you get off the ship. So yeah, these
Exactly.
are the things that I try to tell my friends when they're like, "Why would you ever get back on a boat?"
Yeah, I remember my first cruise. We were there. We were out of Galveston again. It was on the Carnival Magic, and we got fogged in, so we couldn't leave when in the evening when we were supposed to leave.
Mm.
And literally by like 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, I kind of woke up and just a window cabin, like no balcony or anything like that, but it was closed. And I woke up at like 4 in the morning, and I didn't even realize we were already out to sea.
Oh,
Like, like, like I woke up and I'm like, it kind of feels like we might be moving or something like that. I look out and we're like out in the sea, not even berthed anymore, and I didn't even realize it. Right.
hmm,
So
which is amazing, right? It's this huge ship with all these people, and it can be a bit stealth-like sometimes.
yeah, 100%, 100%. But yeah, cruise life, I love it. I want my next, the thing I hope to do next, or coming up is I want to get me and the kids on. My thing is the biggest ship. I always want to be on the biggest ship. So I know that
Oh,
Royal
mhm.
Caribbean just came out with 2 new big ships, the Icon and I've forgotten what the other one, but they're massive. Like just, I mean, all these ships are ridiculously sized, but those ships are just not so massive. And I really wanna get on one of those for sure.
Yes, my mom wants to get on it too, and I feel like I need to see, is there like a 30-day option? Because I know she's gonna run me ragged, go try everything and see everything, and you're gonna need like a month, I think, to really
Yeah.
experience the full ship.
Do you know what a lot of people do if they wanna here's a tip. Here's a tip for those who are watching. Um, a lot of people who wanna do a longer cruise and actually even sometimes a cheaper cruise is they'll do the transit cruises. So
Oh,
every 6 months, they send the ships from Galveston or Florida, where they are, and they send them across to Europe, right? So that they're not sitting in port during hurricane season, and so that they can continue making profit off the ships by doing cruises in the European market. But those
oh,
transit cruises are often they're a good chance to be on a ship, right? And to be on a ship for a fairly long time because it's 2 weeks or so to transit, and you don't get to do as much of the what you call them of the excursions and such like that, right? Because you're out in the middle of the ocean, but you really do get to
right.
really put the ship's amenities to the test.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check into that. That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, so they're once or twice a year. So some people will take them from here and go to Europe. Some people will actually take the flight out to Europe and then do the boat back, right? But either option
Gotcha.
is
Okay.
is
Yeah.
definitely a good way to do that. By the way, as we're discussing, for those who are in the chat, if you've got questions or comments or whatever, please put them in. We want you guys to be a part of the conversation as well. And definitely do check out Alicia's channel. I've put the link up there so that you can all see it, nice, big, and proud. And yeah, definitely check out my page. Obviously, if you're here, you're already checking it out. So thank you. But yeah, we'll continue talking about travel. What are some of the favorite? I know you mentioned some of your highlights, but any other favorites for places that you've been?
Favorite places I've been. Let's see. Well, I will say that when I joined the Navy, September 11th happened. Like not
Mm.
much long after I joined. I know I'm showing my age here, but anyway. So that threw a bit of a wrench in my game plan, which was I joined the Navy so I could see the world. So prior to that event, um, the ships, when you were on a deployment, they would go out for 6 months, and
Mm.
every 2, no more than 3 weeks, you would pull into a different port. And so unless it was your time to pull like duty where you had to stay on the ship the entire day and work, other than that, you were free to go out and explore. So I was really looking forward to that. But of course, we understand, right, wartime needs of the military.
Hmm.
But our captain was able to take us to a few places. And so here's me, 18 years old, right? I'm on this ship, and we went to Hong Kong, we went to Singapore, we went to Bahrain, we hit up a couple places in Australia. We went to Perth and which is mainland Australia, and then Hobart, which is in Tasmania.
Hmm.
And so those experiences at such a young age were great. Now, thankfully, I had a really good crew of people that I had become connected with when I was on the ship. So, they kept me out of trouble. They'd all been on deployments before, and they also were like, helping me maximize my time because I'm just like step off the ship and I'm just on the pier, and they're like, "You're wasting time. Come on, we got to
Let's
go here
go.
and eat, right? We got to go here and shop. We got to go here." And I'm just like, "Let's go, let's go." So that was a really great experience.
Hmm.
Traveling all of those places, and the friends that I had, they were still connected with people who lived in those different countries. Someone that they met out in town, or maybe did an excursion and they met them, and so they all kept in touch. And
Hmm.
so we would show up and they would meet us on the pier, and say, "Oh, there's this new restaurant that's opened up," or "Come to our house." And so
Cool.
that was so wholesome and very necessary because it was a lot going on, right? Like I
Hmm.
know the reason why I'm on the ship. I know the reason why we're heading, towards the Gulf. And we don't know when we're going to come home. Obviously, we knew we were going to come home. We were on an aircraft carrier. So it's like everybody's job is to take care of the aircraft carrier, but we just didn't know when. 6-month deployments were no longer a thing, And so having the opportunity to go to these other countries and meet people for the first time, and they showed so much hospitality, and they were willing to, explain the culture and like open up their homes and things to us. Like, that was beautiful. And it was very much needed for, 18-year-old Aliesha, right? Like just the other day when I went to boot camp, it was my first time on a plane, and now I'm in Hong Kong. Like, what do I do? So I try to share that with people whenever they think of traveling, especially if you think of going someplace that's completely different from where you've normally been, right? In the US, people are like, oh, we go to the Caribbean, we go to Mexico, maybe we'll go to Canada. So when I tell people I've been to Singapore, they're like, for what? And I'm like, well, I was in the Navy when I went, but I would absolutely go back again because it was wonderful. Like, I had a great time, So, anyway.
Yeah, for sure. For what?
Like, there's a whole world out there, whole nother hemisphere you've never even seen. Like, get out there.
Yeah, I hear that. So let me, I know this question was not on the schedule, but just popped into my head as something that I had heard before. And like you live in the States and you travel a fair bit, but I've heard that, and I mean, I think this bears out in Canada too, but most people really don't travel. And I heard sometime that like a vast majority of people never even leave their home state. Is that like, do you get that where people are just like, what like, why are you going to all these places?
Yes, I would get that. Now no one asks me anymore because I'm speaking specifically
Just what
like
you do.
my family and my friends, right? Back home in North Carolina, there was always the question when I would say, because my goal was to get my passport stamped every year. When I left the military, I'm like, okay, I still want to travel. And so I was, and until the panorama came and made all of us stay home. And so I haven't gotten back onto that rotation, but my goal is to do that. And so I would let my family know that, hey, I'm traveling. My parents were like, okay, go, right? Because they drank the Kool-Aid and they realized their daughter is just going to travel. That's her thing. But I would have like aunts and uncles and cousins and like, old classmates. And they're like, why are you going to Italy? And like, what is the Amalfi Coast? And I'm like, oh, just do a little bit of research. That's what I love to tell people, because there's always the question of like, why would I ever want to go there? And I get that, right? All of your comfort is right here, right? Like, why would I ever leave my city? Why would I ever leave my town? For some people, why would I ever leave my house if I don't have to, But for me, it's like, I get that. But I think that if people were to just get more exposure, and thankfully, because of social media, and we've got YouTube, we've got Pinterest, all the social platforms, you can be exposed to other things. And I feel that if people were to just continue researching and just like looking at those things, eventually they would find their why. They would see something, whether it's riding go-karts through the streets of Japan, or riding on a camel in Dubai. There would be something that would pique their interest. And so to me, I think it's just, we do ourselves a disservice if you don't look and see what's available out there and introduce yourself, to something different. And then the next step would be get the passport and go check it out, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
right? Yeah.
So do you think, and I know this is a vast opinion thing, but do you think that a lot of the propensity for not traveling is that people, and again, I'm saying this as a Canadian because I think it happens here too, that people kind of see the rest of the world as like, there's North America, maybe Europe, and then there's like everything else is like,
parts unknown.
why would you? Exactly. Like you're taking real chances by going to these places where, you don't know. Like, I remember once when I was going to Ghana, and my family's from Ghana. So we're going there, and somebody I knew, I think is in my Bible, was it in my Bible college days? Yeah, somewhere around there. And he's like, do you guys have toilets that flush? And I'm like, yeah, we do. Uh-huh. And also there's probably more cell phones there than here. Like, it's not it's not like that. It's not like you're leaving all your comforts, and everywhere you go outside of, this North American bubble, you're going to be on, on a grass mat somewhere under a mud hut. That's like like the whole world has come on this development path. And
Yeah.
yes, you can find those National Geographic type of experiences if you want to, but
But that's not
any
what you see the moment you step off the plane, right?
exactly
Like
any city you're going to fly into has got the amenities that you're probably used to, right?
that's a very good point. If they have
Right.
an airport, chances are they have
Chances
bathrooms
are
and
you're
toilets.
okay. Exactly. But and I mean, and
Yes,
I've dealt with
I
that.
see that here too in the States.
Yeah.
And I think for it's interesting because people don't think of like looking at things from the opposite side, right? Like I'll say that Americans, United States Americans, they may get upset when they go to another country and people have some preconceived notions on how we are because they watched a movie, right?
Mhm.
Or, they saw something on their news that
Mhm.
painted us in a negative light. And I
Mhm.
try, if anyone ever wants to have the conversation with me, I try to bring it to their attention that that goes both ways. You
Mhm.
won't go visit fill in the blank because you watched a movie once and now you think that it's going to be a moment of taken and Liam Neeson has to come save you. And it's like, you don't want people to say that when they come to our country
Mhm.
that these negative things could happen. So why would you also have that same mindset because of something crazy you read in a book or something that you saw online? It's like social media again, I keep saying this, like social media and technology has opened the entire world, to us.
Yep.
And so you can put on a VR headset and see what it's really like, to walk down the streets of fill in the blank. And so then you can also go see it in person, right? And
Yep.
don't make these assumptions. But for some
For
people,
sure.
it's hard for them to understand that. And I'll just be real honest for people that are just too stubborn and they constantly come back with the rebuttals and they never want to go. Like those are just
Mhm.
not my travel people. We'll talk
Yeah,
about
for
something
sure.
in my travel.
For sure. And you know what? That's a good thing. I'm gonna write this. I have in front of me right here. I know nobody can see it, but in front of me right here, I have a whiteboard and it's got all my ideas and all that kind of stuff. Me and you are gonna do another stream coming up, and we're gonna talk about how you get along in other countries as a North American.
Ooh, I like that.
Because like you're mentioning, we come with our preconceptions about what places are like and how we should or shouldn't act, or sometimes we don't even think about how we should or shouldn't act. Like we just go and we think that everywhere is going to be like us and we get ourselves
Mhm.
into trouble. So that's going to
Yeah.
be I'm gonna put a pin in it, right? I'm gonna
Yes.
write it on my whiteboard once we're done, and we're gonna do that one because I think that's actually a really good topic to actually talk about is how to get along in other countries
Yes.
without looking like a
Listen,
um
coming from the South, it's like how to behave yourself out there in the world.
exactly how to behave yourself in a way that doesn't make you or your country look bad,
Right. To
right? And I
not look
think
bad, to also not be a target. Yeah, I think that'll be a great conversation for us to have.
yeah, I think so. But yeah, and I mean, like I've been going through this ever since I was little. My dad has always been a world traveler, and like both my parents are first generation here. So my
Okay.
mother came from Jamaica, my dad came from Ghana, Africa.
Mhm.
So, things like going back home has always been a thing. But my dad has especially always being a big traveler. And I know like my first trip out of the country was when I was 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
He wanted to go back to Ghana, and so we bundled up the family and we all went. And I mean that was back in the 80s.
We're just showing our
when
age all
when
up in here.
when you could still smoke on an airplane. Right? But like, and those things formed my core memories. Like,
Mhm.
like the what is that movie? Not Up. You know,
Oh, with the different little anger
Yeah,
and
exactly. And they talk about core memories, but those
Mhm.
those early travels are like my core memories. Like my first time going to Ghana when I was, about 5 years old. I remember chasing goats in my grandma's compound. I remember once I caught a fowl, like a chicken. I caught a
Yeah.
chicken and I had it like at 5 years old and tried to bring it into the house, and my grandmother's like, "Mm, get that thing out of here."
That's so funny. I have a goat story too that my mom has told me. So on my grandfather's farm, he had pigs. He raised pigs, but then there were also chickens. There were goats. My mom had a pony that she would never ride. She would just like lead it around the yard, which is hilarious. So, so with the goats, the little kids, the baby goats, my mom would just let me waddle around with them. And so she's like, you be out in the yard and you've got your pacifier in your mouth and you're wearing your diaper. And the little baby goat would come over and would headbutt me. And she's like, you'd fall down to the ground and we'd laugh and laugh and you'd get back up and you'd walk around. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me that I was probably destined to be like this Mensa genius level,
until you got headbutted by a goat.
Super duper intelligent, but because you allowed me to get headbutt by a goat as a kid, I am who I am. She's like, you turned out fine. You're okay.
you turned out fine.
I turned out fine.
you turned out good. But yeah, and those form my core memories, and even into adulthood. Like I remember like our early days, we traveled to Ghana. I've gone to Jamaica, of course, because it's close and relatively easy. When I was 10, we went to Europe as a family and did a bunch of countries there. And like those are things that even today, many moons later, I can remember them vividly. Like I can vividly remember the feel of the cobblestone in the Belgium marketplace where my dad introduced me to calamari.
Oh, wow. Yes.
And he did it in the worst possible way.
Tell us.
Now, so I'm 10, okay? I'm not wise in the world, right? I'm a Canadian kid. Right.
Okay.
I don't live in the world of shishi frou foods or anything like that. Burgers and fries. All right.
Got it.
All right. So we're in Belgium. We're in this marketplace doing the little walking free time thing. We took a bus tour through Europe. So we hit about 10 countries through Europe. And I mean, Europe, you look at it on the map and it feels big, but in the space that the United States would take, there's like 30 countries in there, right? As you know. So, you can get from country to country very, very quickly. So we're in Belgium and I'm hungry and I want some food. And I see in this storefront what I think is onion rings. So I ask my dad, can I have some onion rings? Now, my dad knows what this is. Yes. He can see it a mile off. But instead of telling me, no, son, those aren't onion rings, he says, sure, and he buys them for me.
Now, why would he not take that moment as a teachable moment and educate you on what it is?
Let me tell you, I to this day, I have not learned my lesson. But so he buys them and I get them and I happily stick one in my mouth and it's chewy. And it's chewy. And I'm thinking to myself, this has either gone bad or something's wrong. And so he picks one up. And Ghana, where my dad is from, it's a sea country, right? Okay. So it abuts the ocean. So he knows his seafood. He pops it in his mouth and instead of saying, oh, it's calamari or something like that, he's like, oh, it's squid.
Which, yes, when you call something by the nice frou name versus the scientific name,
and I was
swallow,
done.
Literally.
That was it, right? And to this day, never had any again.
Oh,
never. Can't do it. Right, can't do it. And the worst part is, like I said, I still have not learned my lesson because we were in Ghana. Not the last time I was in Ghana, but when I was about 20 something, and we had this big thing for my grandmother, who lives out there, and we killed a goat. Right, we killed a goat. We had it, and we did the whole feast thing. Blah 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 blah. The next morning, my dad is eating some meat, and I'm like, oh, he's having some leftovers. Cool. Mm-hmm. So I sit down with him at breakfast time and I'm like, what you eating? He's like, oh no, just have some. And I should have known.
You should have known.
I should have known. I should have known. Well, I'm like, sure. Sit down. He cuts me a piece, stick it in my mouth, and it's chewy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what is this? And it's like, oh, it's the goat's testicles. It's a great
Oh,
honor. That's what you do. And I'm like, done, done.
let me just
Mm.
tell you, I think as avid travelers, like I don't think you can call yourself a globetrotter unless you've had some sort of experience where you ate an animal's testicles. I hate to say that, but I too
Well,
have experience.
that is my globetrotter credential then, right
Yes,
there.
yes, definitely. Mine was in Kenya. A friend of
Mm,
mine, she used to work for Shell Oil, and Shell has a travel club within the company.
mhm,
So the employees get like deep discounts and they can go on these trips and such. And so she, pulled some strings, asked some folks, hey, can Alicia come on this trip with us? And so I go on the trip. We go to Kenya, we're doing safari. It's great. We're all over the place. Everything's wonderful. And so they take us to, um, I guess it would still be called Brazilian steakhouse because it's the same concept where they bring all the different types of meat around on the skewers and they give you a little
mm,
bit and you try it. And so it was that concept. And so they had like, I'm gonna say like the regular menu, which was your chicken, your beef, your sausage, that type of thing. And then there was like the exotic menu, which was like, I don't know, crazy stuff was on it. So because we were there as a large group and they realized that we were all from the States, they're like, you're welcome to have some of the things off the exotic menu, but we couldn't choose. They were just going to bring over whatever they had that was extra. And so they
mhm.
had some alligator and they had something else, and then they had the ox balls. So they
Oxballs.
come over and they're like, would anyone like to try? And I was the only one at the table and I raised my hand. I was like, yes, let me try it. And so I too have Globetrotter credentials because I've tried it. Not the best thing I ever had. No, I don't want it again, but I did it.
There you go. You got your credentials. So it took us half an hour. We got to the point where we can say, okay, we are doing the Globetrotter guys because we are credentialed Globetrotters.
Right. Finally. Everyone's like, who are these people and why are they? Oh, okay. Yeah. They're legit travelers. Got it.
Yeah. There we go. But yeah, as I got older, I had more chances to travel. Just I was actually in another life, I was actually also a professional photographer.
Oh.
And yeah, so another little tidbit from my life. And
Mm.
through that photography, we got to do a lot of cool stuff. This is what I did with my ex-wife, actually.
Mhm.
But we got to do a lot of cool stuff. I got to do something that you probably have not been able to do and are not likely to be able to do.
Okay, let's see. What is it? Let me
Mhm.
know.
I got to sit my nice brown skin under the
Mm.
Cuban sky.
Under the Cuban sky.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've been to Cuba, and I know that
Oh.
most Americans can't go.
Well, they did open it up for us for a season. So I have quite a few
Mhm,
friends that have been down there. Now, I haven't checked recently to see if it's back open for us, but there was
mhm.
a time where every American that I knew of color was making their way down there.
To Cuba, yeah.
Yes. So it was like the timelines were flooded. Everyone's got the cigar. They're in, the fancy old
Mm,
cars with, so
yeah,
I don't know. It might have opened back up for us, or maybe it will with the next administration. We'll see.
fingers crossed.
Fingers
If
crossed.
if I could vote in a United States election, I would vote in this one. Right?
You
I
would
would
vote.
I would
This would be the
vote in
one
this
you're
one.
like, I'm
This
gonna
would
cast
be
my
the
one
one.
vote from a lifetime.
I feel as a Canadian, I feel like we have a vested interest because the old saying goes, whenever the United States catches a sniffle, us up here in Canada catch a cold. Okay.
I've heard
That's
that. I've
that's
heard
that's
that.
how it works, right?
I feel
But
like we're all on the same block. So when one thing goes wild, it's like, there goes the neighborhood. Old
it
neighborhood. Just down the
it
drain.
is. And I mean, a lot of people are always like, and I didn't mean to get political, but a lot of people are like, oh, that United States, but it's coming up here, right? Like we're like the little brother who always want to be like the big brother. So we're like that. But yeah, with the photography, I got to go to Cuba, did a photo shoot there with model.
Mm,
I've done a photo shoot in Jamaica, Grand Cayman Islands. I got
nice.
to I got to shoot a wedding in oh, what's that park called? Central Park.
Hmm. In New
It's very
York, you mean
cool. In
Central
New
Park?
York, yeah, in
Yes.
Central Park in New York, and we
I bet
actually
that was
did a
gorgeous.
trash to dress session in Times Square, which
How
was
did they trash it?
you know what? I mean, trash the dress nowadays doesn't always mean that you physically damage the dress. It's just the shoot you do after the wedding, right? Where you don't mind getting it dirty
Gotcha.
type of
Okay. I
deal.
thought it was like a paintball situation or something like really over the top.
I did a trash your dress session in the Grand Cayman Islands where the bride like we went right into the water and I mean that dress was
Oh,
about 30 pounds heavier once we were done.
right. It's like good idea, bad idea, right?
So, so we've done those, but I mean but I mean because of what I've done, I've gotten to do a lot of travel, which has just been really, really great.
Mhm.
And it's also kind of feeded that bug for travel in my kids, which
Yeah.
is, one of my big things that I want in my life is I want my kids to travel the world too, because I think traveling the world, like once you get out of your country,
Yeah.
your life and your mind and your mindset change
It
by
absolutely does.
necessity
Yep.
because it just can't not. Once you see how somebody else lives, it switches your point of view, and you can't go back. Like
Mm-mm.
you can't go to another country, see how somebody else's live, and come back to yours and have the same opinions you did before.
Right, just shrug
Right.
it off, no. And that's
Mm,
why it is so good for people to get out and explore. And it's not saying your very first trip needs to be, someplace far off. You can,
mm,
do things locally and just kind of
yeah.
some concentric circles, right? And just expand,
Ex-
expand until you feel comfortable. And, I personally enjoy solo traveling, but that's not everyone's cup of tea. But there are a lot of
mm,
groups out there that you can, get with. And so that way you have a guide, it's a curated trip. Someone's going to pick you
mhm.
up from the airport, take you to the hotel, they got your food prepared, and so that way you can truly enjoy the experience versus spending
Absolutely.
all your time on your phone, like trying to figure out, where am I
What
going
you
to
gonna
go
do?
next?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. 100%. I mean, and there's a time and a place for that too. Like there is nothing wrong with, getting on a plane and being somewhere and just figuring it out,
Mhm.
right? And
Yes.
and I've done that and it's fun, right? But you don't want to do that every time you're leaving home. You're thinking, "Oh, I got to figure this whole thing out." So,
Yeah. You will
it's
learn a lot
definitely
about yourself. And so for
yeah.
anyone that is interested, anyone watching us now or watching the replay, if you are interested in just diving right in and exploring, and you've got like the free time, I
Mhm.
think it's good to just take a look at like those different sites where they'll show some of those glitch fairs.
Mhm.
And so, you never know, you might be able to find, like I don't know, a $30 flight from your city to some other part of the country,
Yep.
and just go and check it out.
Mhm.
And again, you can use Pinterest, you can use, Instagram, TikTok, like all the socials to, search for the hashtag with the name of that city or,
Yep.
the name of that country. And you can curate your own little list of things to do and go check it out.
Yep.
And that's when, to me, it's like you really figure out who you are because the majority of us, I'm generalizing here, but the majority of us are always around other people in some capacity, right? Whether you got
Mhm.
kids or you're, a significant other and everybody's in your home. And so the chance to actually go and explore and do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
There's some crazy restaurant that you've always wanted to try, but your significant other and your kids are like, ew, no. And so you've never been able to go, like that will be your chance to go, right? Or if you want to
100%.
do
Yeah.
an all-day spa retreat, like who gonna stop you? And
Mhm.
that's why I love
Mhm.
solo travel because the agenda is mine. If I decided I just want to sleep in all day and order room service, I can do that.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Yeah,
not upset.
and that's a good point to make too, is sometimes just looking elsewhere. Because I mean, there are a lot of sites that will do a lot of the work for you of finding things to do, and usually those things are group things. They're things that are, there's already a deal in place for you to go there with a certain person, do a certain prescribed activity, and come back. And those are great. And I mean, they give you a lot of guarantees. If you're cruising, they'll guarantee that you're back for your boat in time.
Mhm.
If you're at a resort or whatever not, they get you to and from, and they give you drinks and blah 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 blah, and those are great. But sometimes it is great to just look up a place that you're going and look for other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Find a restaurant that has some good reviews that isn't on the, you know, itinerary of excursions that you can do, or find a different museum, or just go and explore. Like some of the coolest things I've ever done is just leave the hotel, say no to the taxis, and just walk
Yep.
and just walk and find what's out there. And you'll find locals, and the locals will be they're forever grateful,
Yep.
because a lot of the locals get frozen out of a lot of the stuff that happens around resorts. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, if you're in the middle of Guatemala City, you should go for a walk by yourself at 6 o'clock at night. Not saying that, right? You got to be
Right.
safe.
Definitely be safe, right? Be
Right.
smart. Do
But
your research. At least here in the States, like, you know, we have our State Department website. I
Mhm.
check that often just to see, you know, and still take that sometimes with a grain of salt, unless it absolutely says Americans are not allowed to go there. That's different. But
yeah.
I will check it, and it will kind of tell you like what some regions are, some things to be careful about, or, you know, if you do decide to leave your hotel, like here are some things. So obviously
Yep.
be mindful of that. And you can also register with, here in the US, you can register with the State Department website so that they know that there's an American in this country. They're staying at this hotel. They're going to be here from these days. Like you can
Yep.
put all that information in there. And of course, you want to tell your family as well. I have a
Yep,
story. So
exactly.
one of my friends, her family, they have a timeshare, and
Mhm.
her parents, they were going to miss that timeshare week. And so they gave it to her. They're like, you know, it's paid for. If you and another friend want to go, y'all can pick and just kind of see what's available. So we were able to go to the Dominican Republic. That was my
Mm.
first time ever going there. So we went to Punta Cana,
Mhm.
and we stayed at this beautiful resort, all inclusive, all expense paid, la la la. So we get there, and this kind of speaks to what you're saying about, like, you know, the locals get frozen out, but then also, you know, sometimes say no to what they're offering at the resort and go do something different. So we're walking along the beach, and they had, you know, the military was patrolling the beach. There's all these guards out there, and they've got all these, you know, weapons and such. But we're talking to the people who work in the resort, and they're like, oh, there's so much fun just on the other side. But you
Mhm.
all come here and you just get stuck with the amenities here at the resort, and you miss the fun that's happening out in town. So one of the guys was convincing my friend and I, he's like, hey, you two should come out in town. He's like, I get off from work at this time. I don't recommend this, but I will share the story anyway. So when you stay at the resorts, usually they're going to give you some sort of wristband. The
Yep.
wristband is so you can do all the inclusive things, maybe to unlock your door. But ultimately, the locals can identify what place you're staying at based on your type of
Yep.
wristband. So this guy is like, when I get off from work, my roommate is going to come pick me up. I want you to hop in the car with us, and we're going to take you out on the town, but you need to cover your wristband. Can't take it off because the resort put it
Yep.
on. You need it for the resort stuff, but you need to cover it up before we get out in town, or everyone will know where you're staying. So she and I, we put on bangles and bracelets and like all kinds of stuff. Like we just got a ton of stuff on our arms. We call our families to let them know, like, hey, we're about to hang out with one of the locals. We walk out the gate down to, you know, the little, because the taxis would come and pick us up at the door. But we walk
Yeah.
out all of that, go to the main street. The roommate comes, picks us up, takes us back to their apartment. They change clothes and everything, get out of their work clothes, and they take us out in the town. I had so much fun.
Mhm.
Don't ask me where we went. We just went everywhere. And so the roommate had a car, but eventually we ditched the car because at least in the area of the Dominican Republic where we were, everyone gets around on mopeds.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a driver on the moped, my friend squished in the middle, and me hanging on the back, and we're just hopping from place to place. And what I really loved was the areas that they took us to, everyone looked like me. And I had not done a lot of research. It was just, oh, my girlfriend's got this timeshare. We're going to go and hang out or whatever. I hadn't done a lot of research. And in my mind, I was not expecting to see people who literally looked like me, right? The curly hair, like the complexion, the skin, and everything. So we're going to these different areas, and people are coming up to us, and they're like going at it, talking to us in Spanish. And I'm just like, see,
See, yeah. Been there.
communicate with them. And eventually they would figure it out, and they're like, English. I'm like, yes, please, you know. But then there were some people that just didn't speak English at all. But, you know, there were certain things that were universal, right? Do you want to drink? That was universal. You want to come
Yeah.
dance? That was universal. And so we had the best time because we talked to, you know, someone who worked there on the staff, and he just offered, the opportunity for us to get outside of the resort and explore. And we did it, and it was a great time.
Yeah, no, that is, like I said, sometimes that's the best way to do it. And you never know what opportunities you're gonna come up with. I'll give
Mhm.
one more story, and then I'm gonna give us a chance to go on the opposite scale, because we've been talking about our favorite memories, but
Yes.
you're gonna get prepared for the worst place you've ever been. So we're gonna go there before we bring it back up to, but one of my favorite things, I lived in Thailand for several months,
Mhm.
working in an orphanage. And one of my favorite things to do was to take the visiting missionaries out. Oh, by the way, for those who missed it, I also used to be a pastor. Anyway,
Throw that in there.
just throw that little tidbit in there. But one of my favorite things to do, we were up in the north of Thailand in Chiang Rai,
Mhm.
and I used to love to take the visiting missionaries out to the night markets. And I mean, it was their time for, getting a bit of shopping in and all that kind of stuff. Because I mean, when you're working at an orphanage, it's heavy, right? It's
Mhm.
heavy. Most of these people are coming from the States or whatever not, and they're woohoo, we're gonna do missionary work, and then you're hit with, you know, I mean, Thailand isn't really a third world country, but I mean, there are some third world-ish conditions,
Mhm.
right? You're hit with that. You're hit with orphans. You're hit with
Mhm.
all this stuff, the difference, and so on and so forth, and it gets heavy,
Right.
right? So I would take them out to the night market, and my favorite game to play. They always had a little show at the night. They had a stage at the night market, and they had a little show. And my favorite game to play with them was Who's the Girl and Who's the Guy,
Oh.
because there is a certain type of very politicized surgery that is very common out there.
Mhm.
So it can make it very difficult to figure out who has Y and who has X chromosomes assigned to them,
Mhm.
especially when
Mhm.
they are performing on a stage.
Mhm. Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And I mean, the thing is, it got them out of their heads, right? It got them
Mhm.
out of, oh my gosh, I've been dealing with orphanages and teaching English and all that kind of stuff, and this is something different. And I mean, yeah, it's still shocking, especially when when you look at a very nice, beautiful looking girl and realize that he is not.
Mm. Surprise.
Surprise. And I mean, and I like to do it because that was one of the things that got me out of my head when I was first there learning the ropes. I remember we went down to Phuket, um,
Mhm.
south of Thailand, and I needed swim trunks. So I went into, and I was about 20-ish at the time, right? So I went into this store and I found this pair of swim trunks that I liked, and there was this very nice. I was 20 at the time, okay?
Mm.
I'm just
Yes.
putting that out there. And there was this very nice looking girl who was very attractive
Mhm.
that made my 20-year-old psyche take notice.
Okay. Mhm.
So I swaggered on up, and I'm like, and again, I was 20, and
Yep.
she was beautiful, like skin, like she was beautiful. Okay, so long hair, like nothing would give it away, right? So I go up to her and I'm like, how much for these swim trunks? She's like, 350 baht. I'm like,
Your old Mike learned a lesson real quick.
learned a lesson about assumptions.
Mhm. Yeah, traveling will definitely help you with the assumptions. It will.
It will help you with that. But I mean, it got me out of myself, and it got me out of the, haha, I'm the big, North American guy coming here to save all of Thailand type of thing. When I realized that I know nothing.
Yeah.
I know nothing, and I better get humble real quick and learn this place rather than just think I'm at the top of the apex of this place. And I mean, especially for me as a black person going into an Asian place like that, where I was literally black person number one of one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like like there were people who have never seen a black person other than on television,
Mhm.
right? So I was new, right? And that can get to your head, especially when you're
It
young.
really can. It can get
It
to your
really
head.
can.
And sometimes, if you are the only that has visited a location, I think naturally there's like this weight on your shoulder. Well, let me not say naturally, because some people still act up regardless. But
Hmm.
I'm like, if I'm your first time seeing a Black woman, or if it's been years since you've seen a Black woman, I will conduct myself in such a manner so that I don't ruin the experience for all Black women when they come back here.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. But last story time. How
Mm,
I mean, like I said, travel invariably is going to form core memories and such like that. But
mhm.
just like there are great places for travel, there can be, oh, there's a storm rolling in. I can hear the
Oh
thunder.
boy.
Oh boy. I was going to take my dog out for a walk afterwards, and I have this feeling that that is not going to happen. He's going
Oh
to be
boy.
really mad at me.
He
He's over here and he's giving me the look like,
I know
what
he's
are
over
you
here with his
doing?
little paw. He's like, that's
He's
enough.
like, we have a contract here and you are not fulfilling your end, mister. but but travel would invariably form core memories, and I mean it's going to change you, and I think 99% for the good no matter what you do. But there's always places where you go where you're like, never again.
Oh.
So give me one of those never again places.
Okay, don't take this answer as like a cop out. But earlier I mentioned that like I don't really have a favorite location per se. It's just
Mhm.
like memories, right? Like favorite things that happened. So it's pretty much the opposite is true as well. There's not a place that I've been to where I'm like never again, unless my brain has done a really good job of like,
Blocking
you
it
know how
out.
your brain will like suppress things for you.
Hmm.
So that could be
Hmm.
what's happening right now. I'm not sure. But there are certain experiences where I'm just like, "Ugh, I don't want to do those things again." So for example, I'm not so much a big shopper. I will
Hmm.
do the whole souvenir thing and it's just because I'm getting gifts for other people, not necessarily something for me.
Hmm.
But I hate going to markets because haggling is what you're supposed to do, and I don't like doing that. And so I've seen it in when went to Africa, we've been to Kenya, and also went to South Africa, and I've seen it in Italy. I've been to Florence and Rome, and I've seen it obviously in Hong Kong. I saw it in Dubai, and it's like it's what you're supposed to do, and I hate to do that. It's like I wish people would just tell you the fair market value for this little whatever, this little figurine, right? You
Mm.
can up the price just a little bit because I get it. You're trying to make money, but the price gouging just upsets me so much. And so, whatever price they tell me, I'm like, yep, I'm sure they can see it on my face. They can see it a mile away. Whatever number they say, I'm going to pay it. But inevitably, like if I go on a trip with other people, a group trip, or if I talk to someone who's been there before and I'm like, look
Mhm.
at this cool little thing that I got for my mom. And then they ask me, how much should I pay? And I'm like, oh, $10 American, right? I do the
Yeah.
conversion for them. They're like, girl, that's like 50 cents American. I'm like, are you serious? So for me, any trip that I've ever taken, when I go to a market and I'm buying little things in the market, I get anxiety because I know that I'm being taken advantage of, but I
Mhm.
don't like the back and forth, the haggling. I don't do that. If I can find someone else to do it for me, then yes, but I hate doing it myself. I just hate that.
Mm. Because my family is my father's side of the family is from Ghana, Africa. That's a haggling society. It's the way it
Ugh,
works. So this is what my dad always taught me. Here is Michael tip number 2
okay,
for
okay.
today. Whatever they say, you go a third of that. Okay, so if they say $10, you say 3. Come to about
Really?
50%. Come to about 50%. Right?
Okay.
Because that's what they're doing, right? They are going high,
Yeah.
right, with the expectation that you're going to go low,
Mhm.
and then you're going to come to some
And
middle
meet somewhere
thing.
in the middle. Yeah.
Exactly. Also, never let them think that you can't live without that thing.
I'm like, my flight leaves tomorrow. Like I say these things. I'm like, my flight leaves tomorrow. I got one more person to buy a gift from, and they're like, come, let me show you all these things. $20 each.
Oh yeah. I remember in last time I was in Ghana and I was with my kids for the first time, especially my two younger ones, and man, did they have to learn. We took them to the art market in Accra, which is the capital city for Ghana. And I mean, stall after stall after stall after stall after stall, everybody's saying, "It's free to look, it's free to look, it's free to look." And
What
my
in here?
kids are all like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh," and they're looking at everything. And and I remember particularly Jacob, he went into one store and like the rule was if there's anything, you need to tell an adult and
Mhm.
one of us will come with you. He didn't listen. He went and he saw this necklace for 150. The currency there is cities.
Mhm.
So it was about $10. But he only had like 200 cities left of his budget. And the
Mhm.
guy told him it was 150 cities, and he just gave the man the money and took the thing and came back. Look what I bought. Look what I bought. How much was it, buddy? 150 cities. Were like, son, number number one, do not go off by yourself, kid. Number two, this man just took your money. And we went back and we're like, you need to give this kid back his money. You knew better.
Oh,
You knew better than that.
yeah.
Don't. Come on, come on.
You
Uh,
done shamed the vendor. He's like, "Ha, I
yeah.
got another one," and then here you all come like, mm-mm.
Like, come on. 9-year-old at the time, child comes to you, says he wants to buy this thing, and you just take his money? I don't think so. No. No, 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 no.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna call you all on FaceTime when I'm in the market. I'll be like, okay, I need you to talk to these people, please, and tell them don't take advantage of little old me. Like,
No,
one moment, please. Let me call my negotiator.
do you know what? Just go into it knowing that's what they're doing, right?
Okay.
They are not giving you a sticker price, right? I mean, and like I said, I mean, when I go to a store here, I know that the sticker price is what I'm paying, right?
Right.
That's what we've all come to. That's the social contract we have in North
Yes.
America, right? You just have to understand that the social contract is different there, right?
Mm,
They know that they want to make, let's say they want to make $5 off of this thing, right? And they know you're going to haggle it, right? That's their expectation. So they're going to tell you $15 so that they can get down to, the 5 to 10, mark where they're happy, right? And they
yeah,
know that for every person that pays $3, there's going to be a couple more people that pay $7, and they're going to
that's
even
true.
and they're going to even
Okay.
out. But you do not have to be the person that spends the high end because they're making their money, right? They're
Mhm.
making it. They would not be there if there was not money to be made.
That is a good point. Gosh, I'm learning
Right?
so much now. I'm learning so much because that's the other thing too. It's the heartstrings aspect of it,
Hmm.
right?
And they know
Like
it.
I'm a tourist, I'm coming from the States, I'm coming to your country. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I also don't want to give you all my money. Like, how do I
Hmm.
find that happy medium?
Hmm. No, and you know what? I have found that people tend to be a lot more kind of happy with the process if
Hmm.
you come to them on their terms, right? They
Hmm.
know haggling's going to happen. That's the way their mindset is. That's the social construct in their country. They know when they leave the market, they're going to go and buy food and they're going to haggle for the food, right?
Yeah.
They're going to buy a fish or they're going to buy some spices, they're going to buy eggs or whatever not. The vendor there is going to tell them $10. They're going to say no two and they're going to come to five, right?
Okay, yeah.
Eventually that's just the way it's going to work. So, when you hit them at their, I mean, and it's not being disrespectful,
Mhm.
right? Because you're meeting them where they are at,
Where they're at.
right?
Okay. Oh,
So it's actually you're showing respect to their culture,
mhm.
right? Because that's what they're doing there. Now, they also know that there's going to be another American, right?
Mhm.
Which we get lumped into too, much to my
I know.
great disdain.
That's why I'm like, when I say American now, I'm like the United States Americans. Like,
Don't worry, we get lumped in all the time. You're from America, but I mean, they know that another American's going to come and they're going to think like you, and they're just going to give them the $10, and they're gonna make it, right? And that's where they
mhm.
know the American, right? But at the same step, right? If you go and you meet them, trust me, they'll be like, oh, there's this, Black American girl who she haggled and she got a good deal out of me. She got a good deal out of me,
Not a
but you're
good
going to be their
deal.
story for the day, right? You're going to be their good story for the day. And it's
I
not going to
love that.
be,
I come to make them proud. I'm going to practice my haggling skills. Maybe you and I could do a call before I go. I let you know the country that I'm going to and the types of souvenirs, right? Like set the stage and then we practice.
Exactly. Like I said, I mean, just rule of thumb, whatever they say, go a third of that, come to the middle, everybody's happy,
I
right?
love that.
Everybody's happy. And the more that you're buying is, as a bulk thing. So if you're buying 5 of the thing, then, you can come down to maybe, 30 or 40% rather than 50%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they get rid of a bunch of stuff, right? Because I mean, if you look at the stuff that you see in a market, most of those things they're not like mass produced, but
Right.
they're bulk produced. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah, that's a good way
They
to
came
describe
they came in a quantity,
it.
right? To be sold. So, you don't have to feel bad about getting some of that, that bulk discount.
Love it. This is awesome. I hope you
So
all are
there you
paying
go.
attention. I'm looking over in the chat too. We're getting some gems in here.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? This is exactly what I was hoping for. I was very much, hold on a second. Like I said, I think a storm's coming by and I've had this window open all day and that thing's gonna hit me in the head as the wind comes. Because this window faces west. So,
Mhm.
and all the storms usually come in from this direction. So I get like wind from that direction, which is nice when it's hot, but I'd be careful I don't get a concussion during the stream.
Right, right. I'm like, what's the number for 911 in Canada? So I
Oh, it's
can send
911 here too. It's
it's
911 here
911. Okay,
too.
good. I know the number just in case.
That'll be another. We have to do a tips and tricks type of episode
Yes.
where we talk about things like it's not always 911
That's right, right?
because
Little
that
basic things like that you don't consider, but you should have that information on hand just in case you need it, you know?
yeah, exactly. How to get hold of an emergency person if you need to. All right, how to dial out. Like that is something I had to learn, right? You can't just dial your
Let me
10
tell you,
digits and be on your way, right?
those country codes, they do a number on me. I'm like, so as soon as I'm checking into the hotel, I'm like, what is the country code around here? Because I know I can't just dial one and then the number. Like, no,
Yep.
like you got to figure that type of stuff out if you're trying to maybe, order. Oh, and this is something else too. I was just gonna say if you're gonna order DoorDash, but even things like that, like DoorDash and Uber and Lyft, they're not in every country, but the
Nope.
country may have their version of it. And so these are
Hmm.
things that you want to know before you get there and trying to figure out why the app doesn't work on your phone.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Location not found.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give my worst place and then we'll probably land this plane. But and I talked about my time doing missionary work in Thailand. But the first place that I went before I went to Thailand, the place that I was working with was building an orphanage in Cambodia.
Oh wow.
And Cambodia is what I will affectionately refer to as the armpit of the universe. It
Hmm.
sucks. It's
Really?
awful.
Oh,
Oh, it was the worst place I have ever traveled to. The people are beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
The people are beautiful, but it is a war-torn country,
Okay.
right? It is a war-torn. There are places that to this day there are minefields that people are still trying to clear, right? The
Yeah.
Khmer Rouge back in the 70s, a communist regime, and what they did was they basically killed everybody who had an education,
Mm,
right? If you had basically any sort of education, you were done for in
mhm,
that regime. And the outflow of that is there's now a whole generation of people who are, kind of our age, right? Our age and a little older, right? That have zero education,
wow.
right? They don't like gambling is illegal in Thailand, or at least it was when I was there. So they actually put
Mhm.
the casinos on the Cambodian side of the border. But the Cambodians didn't have enough education to even work in the casinos on their own soil for the most part,
Mm,
right? Other than,
wow.
menial jobs and stuff like that. But I
Right.
mean, I saw people living on garbage dumps, right? And their whole thing was going through the garbage dumps to find anything of value that they could go and sell.
Mhm.
Right. It's also where I ended up getting sick.
Good.
got sick in there. I was right at the end of the rainy season. I got some sort of parasite. Like, worst place I have ever
Mhm.
been. Beautiful people, right? It's also home to one
Oh
of
my
the
God.
seven wonders of the ancient world, the Angkor Wat temples, which I did get to
Yeah.
see, and I did get to ride an elephant, which was very, very cool. But
Mhm. But on
but
top of that, right? Oh, wow.
but it was a tough, 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 tough place to be. My job was literally to watch the workers work, because
Mm,
it was in a place where, if you tell them that, we need these post holes and we need, 3/4 inch rebar 6 feet deep, you're probably going to get 1/4
mhm.
inch rebar 3 feet deep.
So you got to watch them.
So
Make
so
sure
you
they're
got
doing it
so
correctly.
you gotta watch them, and that was my job. I mean, like I said, beautiful people, but man, that was a tough country to be in. Most people who go into Cambodia, they fly directly into I've forgotten the capital city's name. Phnom Penh. There we go.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
they take a bus directly to the Angkor Wat, or some people fly to the small airport that's there, do the Angkor
Okay.
Wat, and then, kind of trace your route back out. It's not like a kind of place where you can go backcountry hiking.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna
I
get
see.
yourself blown up.
Wow, I did not
Right?
know that. So, okay, yeah. So there will be some instances where, like you said, it's not the people that's an issue. I mean, sometimes people can be an issue, but in this case, it's like it's the
True.
location itself and like,
Mhm.
the dangers that are there that could make it
Yeah.
a place that's like the worst that you wouldn't want to go back to.
Yeah, and
Wow.
like I said, I mean, if I was flying directly in to see the Angkor Wat temples and then flying directly out, sure,
Mhm.
maybe.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's not a place I would want to linger again for any particular amount of time, right?
Mhm.
Hopefully, I mean, that was years ago now. Hopefully it's gotten better, but that is that was definitely the low light of my travel experiences. Like I said,
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
I'm definitely gonna look it up now because I'm just wondering, obviously, typically I'm just gonna say typically when there's a country that's in that state or that despair, it's not like and so many years later a new regime came in and cleaned everything up and now like we don't see that.
That,
So
yeah.
but hopefully there have been improvements, right? At least from maybe from the education standpoint, right? And there
Yeah.
are more opportunities for people to get access to education. So
Yeah, for
hopefully.
sure. And I
I'm
mean,
gonna
I
look it
know
up.
there's a lot of agencies that have, gone out there since the Khmer Rouge and tried to, at least get younger people into some sort of education and stuff like that. So I'm sure it's improving. I'm sure it is. But I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd have to convince me to go and find out.
I was just gonna say the tourism board of Cambodia are going to offer you and the kids a trip because they want you to come see that things are better now. Come on, we're gonna
I
sponsor you
have
all. Get in here.
I have zero problem with that. If
Okay,
I get a
okay.
chance to
That's our hope.
that's our hope. So if anybody in the Cambodian Tour Commission is watching today, um, you can just contact us at
Yeah.
MNTV Family on all the socials,
Mhm. Yep.
and we will
Let
happily
them know.
respond, and we will find a way to make that happen.
That's right. Yes. Change his mind.
Exactly. Change my mind. Oh man. Anyway, Alicia, what have you got coming up on your channel before we end this?
Yes, so I do. I've got work coming up. So I've got some events that are happening. So I'll be sharing, and that's what I love to do is show behind the scenes, whether it's on set for an acting gig or if I'm in seeing an event. So I have things coming up in both of those categories. So I'll be bringing those videos out. And I'm pausing for a little bit on house sits. I have some really close friends that I'm going to be helping out for a while. So no house sits for a little bit, but The last one that I posted on my channel, if you all can take a look at that one, it's with this cute golden doodle named Churro. So if you haven't
Mm,
had a chance to look, shout
yeah.
Churro. If you haven't had a chance to check that video out, please do so. But yeah, like our summer is winding down. I mean, basically summer is done here in
Yep.
Seattle. It's already starting to get cold for us. So probably if I am getting out and about, it's going to be indoorsy things. So
Yeah.
exploring Seattle, but from the inside.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. Can't wait to see what you've got coming up. I love watching your stuff. I enjoy the pet sitting. I like watching the houses that you're like, you're showing off the pets and I'm looking at, dang, that house.
It's amazing. And I always ask for anyone who's like, oh yeah, you know, you be showing this. I always ask permission if it is okay. And obviously I move the family photos and, you know, anything like that. No
Yeah. Yeah.
identifying information. But it's been really wonderful because I just let them folks know up front. I'm an actress, I'm an MC. So I may be hosting a virtual event. It's just going to be in a random corner in your home. Is that okay? I have an audition that I need to do. And then sometimes I've actually booked like remote gigs. And
Mhm.
there was one family, I'm like, can I film in 3 rooms of your house? They're like, you can film everywhere. We are just excited to see, because, you know, eventually they'll get to see the stuff and they're like, ah, it's my kid's room, you know, or
Yeah.
whatever. So I've been very blessed, lucky, all the things in that regard, being out here. Being able to, you know, still do my craft as
Mhm.
I'm venturing out into to other folks' homes. And Mike, I just want to say that I am so proud of you for really jumping into this whole live stream venture on YouTube. Like we've talked about it behind the scenes with some of, you know, some of the other folks that we know that have YouTube channels, and
Mhm.
I've wanted to do it. I did just one with our good friend Curtis.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we talked about a movie, but I have an idea now for a show that I would like to launch
Oh, very
for
cool.
my channel. And the whole concept would be I've lived a lot of lives in the career side, right? Military,
Mhm.
and then I work for the government and I work for Microsoft, and now I'm doing this. And so I would really like to kick off a channel where I'm talking about career, like not necessarily being a career coach or anything like that, but just giving
Yeah.
advice and talking through some of the things that I did to transition between all of these careers
Oh, very cool.
successfully, might I add. It's subjective, but I feel that I successfully made the switch
Yeah.
between them. So I would love to launch a show where I talk about that. So I've got some ideas. So you've already
Very
invited
cool.
me to come back on your show. As soon as my show comes out, I want to bring you on as well,
Oh,
and
very
just
cool. I would love to.
give folks advice on like a career transition. So yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And I mean, I'm loving how like you mentioned, I mean, we've got some friends that, we have kind of come together and I mean, our lives are different, but we also got that synergy going on, which is very, very cool. I mean, I've also done a couple of streams with Curtis, me and him talking about fatherhood on my other channel, The Optimist Guide, right? And you have, and I mean, it's just very, very cool how even though we live different lives. I mean, you're on the West Coast, I'm in Canada, he's in the Carolinas,
Yep.
right? We live very different lives, and yet we've still found that way to, we found those common grounds that we can do this stuff with, which is just so cool. And that's one of the cool things about the YouTube community and being a creator and such like that. You get to touch different things that are even out of your, they may even be out of your, not comfort zone, that's not the right word, but out of your normal sphere,
That's it.
right?
Yep.
But you get to touch into other things, and that is so
Mhm.
cool. I mean, I never thought of myself as a, career, talking person, but as soon as you said it, I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I
Let's
mean,
do it, right?
I've had different lives, right? And I have had to, for, various different reasons, transition from, being a photographer pastor to not.
Uh-huh.
Right.
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 Yes,
And I
doing something
mean,
completely different. I'm just looking in the chat now, and I'm like already making plans to talk to some folks that we have here in
yeah.
the chat, like some of our friends, like the Solomon Project, for example. I am learning so
Yeah.
much about the trucking business and also budgeting
Mhm.
and saving money. And so I've got ideas. I want to bring him on the show as well,
Mhm.
right? And
Yes.
then I think, if I'm not mistaken, our good buddy Black Star is in here too. Yeah, Black Star
Yeah, he
Exotic.
popped in.
Yes, definitely want to talk to him too, because it's my understanding, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but he's got multiple businesses. So he's got
Mm-hmm.
businesses, with the dogs, the exotic dogs, and then he's also got like a moving
A
business
moving
that he's
business,
also
yeah.
promoting, right? And so I'm just like, yeah, I really like, I love the group that we've been able to cultivate in this YouTube world. And so I'm taking a page out of your book, right? You're inviting folks to your show, so I'm gonna launch a show too and invite y'all as well.
I love it. I love it. It's so cool. And I do want to thank the people who have come into the stream that I've noticed. I saw Black Star in there. Hey man, I'm gonna be hitting you up for the other channel, so watch out for that. Bella's Whisper Farmstead, Kristen, how you doing? Thanks for coming. Deandra Dobbs, the show, the show.
The
If you are
show.
ever, if you want the tea on what's going on in the world of celebrities, you gotta watch his show,
You
right?
have to.
That boy, that guy, man, he's got his thumb on the pulse. He's got his
He
finger on the pulse
does. I learned
for
so much
sure.
from him. And it's like, I might read like TMZ or the blogs, but he goes into such great detail.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the way he breaks it down, because sometimes when you're like reading the gossip columns or whatever, it's just too much information coming at you, right? But he
Mm-hmm.
keeps it focused and direct. He gives his opinion. He's also like active in the comments. So I'll respond
Yeah,
and let him know
sure.
what I think
He
and he's
sure
in there
is.
too. So definitely check him out if you all haven't already.
Yeah, 100%. And the Solomon Project, Leo, I see you there too. Hi, hi, hi. I really appreciate you guys all getting into this stream and chatting with us and being with us. But we've been at this an hour and 20 minutes,
Look, I
which
know
has
your
been,
dog is definitely like, and that's a wrap, please.
yeah, yeah, he's right there. Every once in a while, he's been coming kind of at my feet and he's like,
It's like,
we
tell
going
that lady to
here?
quit talking.
So I gotta show him some love too. But we're gonna do this again. What I want to do is I want to actually do this at least once a month. Whether it be with you or with other people. I know there's some other people in our group that travel
Yeah.
plenty as well. So I definitely want to keep this rolling and do it regularly, and hit some topics in there too. I know today we just kind of kibitzed and reminisced, but I want to hit some specific topics. I want to talk about tips and tricks. I want to talk about good hotels, bad hotels, because we got some of those,
Mhm. We
right?
definitely do. Yeah.
Good locations, bad locations, travel companies, all those type of things that people want to know. And sometimes I get that people don't even know what to ask when it comes to travel, so then they don't, and then they don't travel, right? Which
Right. Or maybe they have one bad experience. And so that
yeah.
kind of, ruins the whole experience and they just don't get back out there.
Exactly. So I'm hoping that we can kind of bust through that a little bit and talk about how we can make, every travel experience, whether it's to the next city or to the next continent, a very positive one.
I love that. And I mean, I've got friends who love to travel too. So I'm gonna see if I can maybe have some of them come on and be special
Yeah,
guests and
absolutely.
talk about, yeah, those topics. So I'm
Absolutely. I'm
just
very, because I
excited.
mean, and this is the thing. I'm not the end all and be all of travel, right? I'm not the
Mhm.
I don't know everything there is to know. So I love having other people who have a different point of view, who, I mean, I have the Canadian point of view, of course, but having that state's point of view or from elsewhere. So I'm very happy to have, other people come on and chat about their experiences and talk about the pros and the cons and the do's and the don'ts and all that kind of stuff. I think it'll be very
Yes.
cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
So so anyway, we'll bring this to a close. Like I mentioned before, a big thank you to my good friend Aliesha. Check out her channel at AlieshaNicole on YouTube. So go like, subscribe, do all those things on her channel. She's nearing the 400 subscriber mark. There was a while when I was ahead of you, and you
I
just
know.
blew
Actually, I've
past
crossed
me.
over.
Oh, you're over
So
400 now?
yeah, I crossed over. I only checked before we came in here so I could see like
Oh,
what I needed to plug.
kudos.
So I have
Yes.
been sitting at 420 for quite some time, which someone I'm sure is like, girl, 420, that's a good number. I would like
Hmm.
to pass that. So if anyone is listening, watching the replay, all that jazz, if you could please, please, please help me get to 500, I truly appreciate
Yes.
it.
We're all working on that way. I am too. I mean, if you're watching this, you're already there, but I'll plug it again at MNTV family. Please
Mhm.
do give me a subscribe as well. I really do appreciate it. I can't let Aliesha leave me in the dust like this. I can't have this happening. So it's
Hop on
not
the
a
plane. Come on.
competition. It's not a competition,
No.
but I would very much appreciate any subscriptions, likes, comments, all those things. Every little thing help, and they're all free. They don't cost you a thing. So they're all very much appreciated. But as I close all my videos with, if you've watched them, I appreciate you guys very much. And until next time, keep exploring. Have a good night, guys.